Hello, my name is Will Knight and I am the news producer for MMG and I am with...
I'm Elliot, I'm the City and Community Officer at the University of Manchester Students' Union.
Right, let's jump into it. So, first and foremost, what is your priorities as City and Community Officer, and what are you doing to sort of further them?
Yeah, as an officer team, we've been focused this year on the material conditions of students, and what we mean by that is, outside of classroom, the things that really affect students in their day-to-day life. And for me, the biggest thing is renting.
Yeah.
The price of rents for students are absolutely astronomical. It is the primary way that our wealth is extracted from us. And it has such a huge knock-on effect in forcing students, particularly working class and marginalised students, into part-time work and that sort of thing. We have the new Fallowfield development that's going on, where they've demolished the cheapest university accommodation and are now set to build accommodation that's going to cost £235 at least, which is just completely unaffordable. And so we've been pushing hard against any rent increases that the university puts forward, supporting the democratic SU policy of backing the rent strike campaign from 2023, calling for affordable accommodation across campus. So we've been writing papers to them, making those arguments, been supporting the student-led Fight the Rent Hike campaign. And one of the things more sort of tangibly that we've done on it is we've got the university to sign up to the Good Landlord Charter, which is a new initiative by the Greater Manchester Combined Authority it's a voluntary scheme for landlords to sign up to, basically commit to being better landlords. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the term good landlord, but hey-ho. And one of the main things that we're pushing for in that is a form of affordability metric to stop landlords continually raising rents higher and higher.
Yeah, thank you very much. And so, just to broaden things out a bit, what is really, for a student who's perhaps less sort of familiar with the role of the SU, what is the benefit of having an SU to the student community?
I mean, the benefit is it gives us both space and resources. We have an entire building on campus that is owned and ran by us, by the students. And that is where we hold the vast majority of society events, everything from Islamic Society to Steely Dan Society, all of them take place in this building. We have funding available for student groups. If you're not in a group, you can still apply for funding for running events and activities. We also give hardship support. We've just opened up the Essentials outlet in just down by Withington, Whitworth accommodation. In which there's a food pantry, community space, community kitchen, and places that students can exist without having to pay for it. And that's one of the big issues that we're facing. It also allows us to have a voice within university structures. How much the university actually listens to the SU, that's another thing. But we have that ability to actually make a case and put forward arguments. And we do get some wins. We get stuff like the accommodation bursaries and that sort of thing, which do materially improve the lives of students.
Yeah. And on a similar note, if we're talking about sort of how students interact with the SU, do you think there's a visibility issue with sort of the student executive or sort of with the role of the Students' Union in general? And if so, what are you doing to change that?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those sort of impossible tasks to, when you have a campus of 50,000 students, trying to get all of those students to be aware of the Students' Union when we don't have the resources that the university has and that sort of thing. This year we've been trying to have much more presence, attending more society events, getting involved more with student campaigning work. In the next couple months, we're going to be doing regular officer stalls across campus, where we're going to be physically available for students to talk to us and raise concerns, talk about issues. We have the union assemblies where we give updates on our work. We've started this year doing officer team soapboxes on the SU Instagram, where we talk about sort of political concepts and the issues that we're facing currently, be that on a very sort of local level or a more national level, to try and sort of put into words a lot of the anxieties that students feel today, the potential rise of fascism and so on. and trying to make it clear that we are political leaders, we are elected on a political platform, and we get a lot of engagement from students on these statements. Students have suggested ideas of future statements we can do. And we've also got an officer team, a student survival handbook, which we've just produced. We're going to be distributing soon, which has lots of advice and links to get support for students, and it also has a lot of information about who we are as an officer team, and so we're going to be distributing that soon to students, so they can have our contact details and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And so to bring this more to a national level, I believe in July you signed an open letter to the National Union of Students critiquing their stance on Gaza. You also gave a comment, I believe, to the Canary, which stated that you think the NUS has turned its back on its values.
Yeah.
Do you think, in light of sort of those comments, this issue, it is time for the University of Manchester Students' Union to reconsider affiliation with the National Union of Students?
Yeah, so we are actually due in spring. Every 3 years we have a vote on whether to remain affiliated with the National Union of Students. We're going to be having that vote in early spring this year, 2026. And yes, I will absolutely be campaigning for us to disaffiliate from the National Union of Students. It is not a body that can represent students. It has no strategy. It has no analysis of the political climate that we're living in currently. And as we saw over the summer, it is more interested in putting resources into trying to intimidate and silence SU officers like myself and 70 other SU officers from across the country that signed that letter.
Yeah, and just to expand on that a bit more, do you feel that there may be a risk that students will feel they have lost their national voice if disaffiliation happens?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately the concept of a national union of students, great, love it. We do need to have that collective national voice, but this ain't it. This actual organisation that we have now, it's not ran by the students, it's not accountable to the students, and it doesn't do anything material to actually support the students. So we had a NUS conference a couple of weeks back, and they were listing all of the wins that the NUS has achieved. And it was all stuff that I struggle to actually see as an NUS win. They claimed votes at 16 being announced by the government as a win for the NUS. That was a Labour Party manifesto pledge. It's a win for the Salisbury Convention, not for the NUS. They have claimed another win that the government is now looking into free bus travel for under 22s. Well, actually, no, the government's now backtracked on that. They're not going ahead with that. How is that a win? They haven't actually been able to do anything in a very long time to actually improve students' conditions.
Yeah, and just sort of a final question on that topic. As you say, you're in favour of a national body. Some may suggest that disaffiliation would weaken sort of the ability of students in Manchester to change that organisation. Do you understand that concern?
I understand the concern, but we've had decades of people trying to reform this organisation. We're not the first students to be upset with the National Union of Students. But the issue, as I said, it's not accountable to the students. You, as a student, have no power to actually impact the work it carries out, and that's because students are not members of the NUS. The student unions are members of the NUS. And that just brings us into the issue that we have with students' unions across the country, where, due to short-term limits of officers, it's not the elected officers that are often in control of making decisions, it's long-term members of staff, and that's an issue across the country.
Sorry.
What we found in the episode over summer was that is where the NUS's interests lie. They used senior members of staff across the country to intimidate elected SU officers. I do believe that the NUS is beyond reform at this point, and we'd be better starting from scratch with a new organisation which is actually accountable to the students.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.